Hello, I made this animation in Blender, and instead of a breakdown video, I decided to make a video where I will highlight 10 tips that I wish I had known earlier. Yes, this is an animation, please don't say that you didn't notice, because I worked hard to animate all of this. Let's talk about this hill in background. You can place 3D model of hill in background, and you can also place these tiny emission cubes or something, but there is an easier solution for this. If you just find texture of hill which looks something like this, of course you can find anything similar. We can import this inside Blender. We don't have alpha value, so we can disconnect this. We can plug this to emission color, emission strength, and we can also plug this to alpha here. And now what is black will be transparent, what is bright will be visible. We can use ramp here, and we can also go with matte here, and we can set this to multiply, and with multiply we can control how bright this will be. Now we can control how much of this hill we want to be visible. I don't want these hills to be completely transparent, so I can play with these values here. If I bring this all to white, we can see completely this hill, but I want to blend this better with this lighting here, and I can just bring this little down. What I do last time, I also go with K to cut some parts of this hill, so we can go to edit mode and we can go with K. And now we can delete these faces, and if we select all these vertices, we can maybe subdivide this to make this more smooth, and now right click smooth vertices. Now we can play with visibility of this hill. You can see all this purple texture is actually same. I just scatter some of these lights closer to these houses here. You can actually see that I place some lights inside of these houses with this technique. It looks like we have some lights inside these houses and on this street here. I modeled this bar from scratch, and I record whole process. You can find in this video here, together with whole process of creating this scene. And I model a lot of these stairs. Let's see how we can make one. First I will go to edit mode and I will delete this one. There is a few ways you can quickly model stairs, but I will show you what I do last time. I will go to edit mode and I will just grab this edge, shift D Y, EY to extrude this on Y axis. Let's move this down. Control R to add one loop cut here. When I press enter, I can enter number of stairs here. Let's say maybe 20, because I will also model fence. Later I will duplicate this, shift D Z, and I will now press L here, and I will go with Alt M. And I will split faces by edges. I split all these faces. I will go actually with C because they are split now. And now I will set this to individual origin, and I will press SZ0. EZ. I will go with L. EZ to extrude this on Z axis. Move this down. Delete faces. Delete also this one, and now I can press L. And you can use here wireframe modifier. A wireframe modifier is non-destructive. You can always back to this later and change values, but sometimes I use destructive wireframe, for which is shortcut I think Control F, and we can now find this wireframe option, and we can easy add thickness here, and you can also play with these options, but I will just go with Control B to smooth this, and we get quick stairs. But let's go with Control Z. Let's see what we can also do. We can just press I. In this case, I twice to insert each of these face as individual. So I will press I twice, and now we can go with delete faces, and I will go with L to select all this, maybe Alt T, extrude along normals, and we get a nice fence also. I can maybe select this top part. Maybe Shift D, SX to scale this on X axis, and EZ. Control B to add small bevel here. And this is how we can get quick stairs. Let's say we download this PBR texture from MBNCG, and because this is in focus, let's see how we can get maximum from this texture. With Ctrl-Shift-T, we can bring all these textures inside Blender. Let's select all this. First we have here ambient occlusion, and with this we can just add little more ambient occlusion in color input. To do this we just need go with Shift right click, and we just need multiply this ambient occlusion with color map. This is not so visible and not so important. This is before and after. But there is one thing which is important here, and that's displacement map. First we have normal map and displacement map at the same time. I don't want that, so I will delete normal map for now. In this case, where we want to place this object very close to camera, we actually want real displacement. We can press N, and under options we can, and settings, we can set this to displacement and bound. And for this we need more mesh. So if I now go with subdivide a few times, I will go with subdivision surface modifier, and now we can play with scale here. If we go to solid view, we can see that this is still plain, but I want real geometry here. So instead of this method, I will use displacement modifier. So I will make this to bump only, and I will press N. I will search for displace modifier, and I will go to render preview. Now what I want to do, I want to create new map here, which will be this displacement map. And now we need to click down to texture, and we need to load this texture here. Now we can back to modifier tab. So I need subdivision surface modifier, but before displacement modifier. I will add more subdivisions here, but first I need fix this displacement. So I need to set this to UV. We have only one UV map, and now we can play with strength. I need much more subdivisions here. Now when I'm happy with the result, I can just go with right click and convert this to mesh if you want, and we get real mesh here. Now we have something like piece of photo scan. Now if I go with Alt D, Alt DX and move this here, we will see this ugly seam here. I will go to wireframe mode, and I will select this part here. Ctrl I to invert selection, and now we can go with proportional editing, and we can move this down with GZ. Now when we go with Alt D X, we will not be able to see this edge anymore. And because this texture is repetitive, my recommendation is, if you have some photo scan inside your asset browser, to just blend this. You can with SZ scale this on the axis to make this more flat. When we talk about materials and shaders, you can go to site, for example MBNCG, and download a lot of different shaders, but this is not what I do. If you look this house in solid preview, you can see all these different colors, and each of these different colors actually represent different material. And if you go to render preview, you can see how this looks. And if I go to right on material previews, you can see that each of these materials have different shader setup. But all these different materials actually have something together. All these actually use the same color map. You can see that we have here one big collage of different textures. This saves from a lot of unnecessary work. So if you organize well and put everything you need in one collage, you don't need hundreds of megabytes which you will download from similar site like this. You can just project everything into UV editor, and later you can make different variation from one collage. And only thing I use in addition to this texture map is one random concrete texture you can download from internet, which looks something like this. And I just with this add variation in the color input to add more dirt. I use also this for roughness. I usually for roughness use something like concrete texture. For example, if I select this material part and if I increase this dark colors, you can see how this affects this roughness. So point is that with just two textures, which are maybe 30 megabytes, I built a whole this house, and this house still looks good in render preview. And because we talk about shaders, we need to put more focus on glass shader. If I go to object mode and select this glass, I will delete all this and I will start from scratch. If you are Blender beginner, maybe you will go with Shift A and search for glass BSDF and you will find glass here. But you can note one problem. We have very strong sunlight which come from outside, but we don't see enough lights inside. You can go with transparent BSDF, and if you now mix these two together, we actually get transparent glass. And with this slider we can choose how much we want this glass shader and how much we want this transparent. If you set this all to 1, you actually lose all this glass shader. You cannot see any glass here. And there is another solution for this problem. You can go with light path node, and if you now set this in shadow ray as vector, now for Blender this is just transparent, but in camera we still see complete this glass here. Even you can find this recommendation in a lot of YouTube videos. I don't use this because if I now delete this and set this to 0.5, you can see nice reflection in glass here. If I go with Ctrl Z, you can see that we don't have this reflection here, and I don't need 100% of this light inside. If I set this to 0.5, I get enough lights inside and I still see this glass shader, and I also get this nice reflection here. So this is setup I usually use, but this is not enough here because I don't have any imperfection here. I just have a completely white glass, which is physically correct because glass don't have any color. What I usually do, I just go with image texture and I will load here this collage we talked about before. And if I plug this to color input, we can actually bring back some of this detail we have from this reference. Here I have UV editor. I can just project on some of these windows here, and I can get all these details. This is now not so visible. To make this even more visible, I can go with diffuse BSDF and I can now plug this color here. I can maybe bring roughness little up, and now we can mix these two together. And you can see what we get. Now I can reproject this on any part I like. Even this is not physically accurate, you can see what effect we get. It just looks like we have something behind this glass. If you have more time, you can model all these things. You can maybe model these curtains, but I don't have, and this is quick solution to bring a lot of details very quickly. Let's say we want to bring details in roughness, and for this I will again go with image texture, and I talked before that I use concrete for all these imperfections. I want to use this in roughness input, but first I will go with color ramp. You can clearly see all this imperfection in roughness, which looks something like dirt. And for bump in glass we can use something like noise texture. So if I go with and now I can go with bump. Now we actually get this glass distortion effect. This also depends a lot on lighting, but you can see distortion on these lights here. This is actually how I made all this glass here. You can see that here looks like something is inside this glass, but it is not. And also this glass here and here. Similar technique I use to create inside bar. Because this is not so close to camera, I don't need lose too much time here, and this is what I do last time. I actually create this collage texture. We have a lot of emissive materials here, and what I can do now, I can go with Shift A, image, mesh plane, and I can import this here, and now I can do same as I do before. I can plug this to color, strength, and I can also plug this to alpha, and I need the UV editor here. Scale this down, let's reproject this here, and now we already get what we want. For example, if we want this dinner sign here, we can go with Shift D, Z. Let's scale this down. Let's say we want this neon sign here. We have something like neon sign. Let's rotate this to another direction. Shift D, X. And from distance this will look good. And I will show you speed up process how I model this. For example, I made a low poly model of this dart here. And we can of course model some of these parts here. And because this is far from camera, I don't need lose too much time for this. I can very quickly make interior and it will look good from camera. And with same technique I also make this bar neon sign which go outside. Another quick tip is that because this is art, we can always fake lighting. For example, this bar neon sign doesn't cast enough light, so I place this point lamp here, and now I can increase power here maybe to 200, and I can set this to red. And I will try maybe with Shift DX, place one on another side, and I get this nice effect. And I do same down with this, I think this light. So this is before and this is after. Next tip will be modeling tip. Let's say we want to create sign like this one. We can do very easy. I will stretch this on y-axis, apply scale. Now we can go with tab to edit mode. With 2 we can select edge select, and we can grab these 4 edges here. Now if we go with Ctrl B, we get bevel. We want to invert this profile, so we can just press P and we can get this type of profile. And if we now go with I to insert this, we quickly get this overlap in vertices. And now we can back to about here, and we can now click and press S to scale this. Next tip or suggestion is use reference images. In this case is when I build buildings or houses, I always go to Google Maps. In this case I just go to ChatGPT and I ask where I can find old classic American houses with white planks or something, and I think I get suggestion for Pennsylvania, and I just go around all these streets and I found something which I can later convert to bar or something. And this is result. You can see that I just model according this house, and I convert this house into bar. And next and last tip is you need to have a rich asset browser. In this case, where I, for example, need trees, I will not model these trees because I do this once and I save all this in asset browser. And now I can just choose one of these trees and I can just place this here. And because these days are Black Friday, you can find big discount in links in the description. You can download my smart trees, editing building asset pack, neon sign asset pack, industrial decoration, simple city generator, basically everything I do in last 5 years at discount prices. And you can also download all these assets by subscribing on my YouTube join or Patreon page, and you can download everything with one subscription. You can also find all these assets on my super high page at a discount right now, or you can also use my discount code on Gumroad. That's all for this video. I hope you learned something new and see you in next one.